Hello, Packers fans, wherever you may be. It's time for another edition of the Pack Attack Cast. It is your pregame edition for Packers versus Bears. I'm recording this on Friday evening. We will have an update with activations and deactivations on Saturday. So I'll come on and do a additional abbreviated pregame show once we get the active players for the game on Saturday night. But I want to talk about the matchups here, the keys to the game for this huge game, Packers versus Bears. If the Packers win this game, they have a 74% chance of winning the division. If they lose this game, the chances of the division being Green Bay's goes down to 10%. And that really relies on the Bears losing a couple games at the end of the season. Now, the Bears actually have a really tough schedule for their last two games. They have to play the 49ers, and then they have to play Detroit Lions, who are still trying to get into the game, into the playoffs. And even if the Lions are out of the playoffs that last game, you know Detroit plays to the final whistle, and they're not simply going to bend over and let the Bears take their playoff spot. So the Bears actually do have a much harder road to winning the division if the Packers can win this game. If the Packers win this game, they then play the Ravens, who might be out of contention for the playoffs at that point, and there's the Minnesota Vikings, who are really out of the season this far and really are not a threat, I think, to beat a Packers team. Now, if it comes down to that last game and the Vikings are saying, hey, we could pay spoilers for the Packers, that could be a problem. But if the Packers win this game and they win the game against the Ravens, then they have an amazing chance of still winning the division and getting the number 2 spot for the NFC. So there's still a lot to play for in this game. And the whole week, I've been watching the talking heads. I've been watching the point spread start to drift more and more in the Bears' favor, and I really don't understand it. I think the Packers, minus Micah Parsons, are still a better team player for player, especially at the quarterback position, than the Bears. A lot of people are talking about Micah Parsons and the fact that Packers have some injuries. The Bears have some pretty significant injuries in this game, too. There's no question about it. So I think there's a lot of momentum in the media and at the sports books for the Bears right now because of what happened with Micah Parsons. But the Packers have a very solid squad. They have the best quarterback in this team. In this game, and I think the Packers have the best defense in this game, regardless of the Bears' tendency to get lots of turnovers, because the Packers have the secret weapon in a game against a team that looks for takeovers, and it's that the Packers are actually one of the best teams in the league at avoiding turnovers. Jordan Love is excellent at avoiding turnovers. The receivers and the running backs for the Packers are actually very good at protecting the ball. So if you take away that secret weapon from the Bears, you look at the stats, the Bears are very prone to giving up big plays in the passing game. They're not great against the rush. So there are going to be opportunities for the Packers to win this game. I'm not concerned about that at all. So let's talk about the keys to the game if the Packers are going to get a victory. Jordan Love has to stay aggressive early. As I said, the Bears are prone to big plays. Okay, what did we see in the last game against the Bears? The Packers were able to get to a sizable lead, and then the Bears worked their way back in. But if the Packers can get in a sizable lead and do that in a large part by running the ball as well as timely passes from Jordan Love, to keep the defense off the field a little bit more than they did in the last game, then I think the Packers can get a good lead on this Bears team and force them to get away from the run. Now, the run is very important for the Bears, but Swift has a groin injury, so they might be down to one running back. We'll know closer to game time. But the Bears, if we get them out of the comfort zone of running the ball, getting short yardage on third downs by making some plays on early downs, then I think the Packers defense could be in a good position to control the Bears. This is going to be a shootout. I fully expect that both teams are going to score over 25 points in this game. And I think the Packers are going to do just enough on defense to have a healthy lead going into the end of the game. The perfect scenario for the Packers is it's the end of the game and the Packers are winning by 9 or 10 points. So the Bears really have to score twice to get back into the game. That's how we were so effective against the Lions on Thanksgiving, is the Packers always found a way to keep a 2-touchdown lead. So even when the Detroit Lions countered, the Packers were able to get right back up and score more points. This is definitely going to be a high-scoring affair, and I think Jordan Love, as the best quarterback on the field, is going to have much more opportunities to be effective in this game and be possibly the difference in this game. So Jordan Love can attack the secondary with smart plays down the field. We don't want to be reckless. We don't want to have the turnovers that we saw with Denver. Outside of that game, Jordan Love played really good games. And if you look at the interceptions against the Broncos, both of those interceptions were actually more on Denver making a great play. On the one interception where Watson got hurt, that was just a great play by Patrick Surtain. The other interception, the receiver juggled the ball and it ended up going into the defender's hands. So that's really not on Jordan Love. So Love had one interception that was really a great play by Patrick Surtain, and the other interception, I really don't put that on Jordan. So I think Jordan can make plays downfield, be smart, and protect the football. And I think that we can build up a lead that will help get the Bears out of their comfort zone of just running the ball. So I think there's lots of opportunities there. Running the ball is going to be big for both teams here. It will not surprise me if the Bears end up this game with more rushing yards than the Packers. But the Packers have to find ways, excuse me, to keep the Bears defense honest. And one of those ways is to provide consistent rushing attacks on first and second down to have manageable third downs. Jordan Love is great at completing long third downs, but let's see if we can avoid that in this game. So if the Packers can rush 80 to 85% of the yards that Chicago does, Jordan Love and the passing attack will make up the difference. But we still have to focus on running the ball. I do believe Josh Jacobs will play in this game. He might be limited in snaps a little bit, but I think it really comes down to how the Packers are playing in this game. Matt LaFleur came out this week and he said, whatever it takes to win, we're going to do it. So that tells me that Josh Jacobs' usage in this game, if he plays, is going to be largely based on the situation. If the Packers have a nice, healthy lead, maybe they take Josh Jacobs out for a couple series and save him for the fourth quarter when they really need him to grind out the clock. Mm-hmm. So I think it really comes down to what's going on in this game. If it's the fourth quarter and the Packers are down, Josh Jacobs is going to be out there running the ball 100%. So one of the things we saw in the game against uh, the Bears 2 weeks ago was Caleb Williams was finding ways to make plays outside the pocket. So the Packers are going to have to blitz and contain Caleb Williams and to hold him inside the pocket. Number one, that gives him better chances to get a sack, perhaps a coverage sack if the secondary is doing well. And number two, it keeps him away from making those big plays on the run where he is really very effective. So we want to force the pocket to collapse around Caleb Williams and keep him in the pocket as much as possible and force him to win the game with his arms. You have to keep in mind the Bears are going to be without their top two wide receivers in this game. And I don't think that's being talked about enough, because what that does, it really allows the Packers to say, Keyshawn Nixon, Corey Valentine, you need to hold your receivers long enough for us to get to the quarterback or stop the running back in the backfield. So the fact that they don't have elite wide receivers available for this game really will help the Packers focus on stuffing that box and hopefully stopping the Bears as much as possible in the run game. The Packers really should try to win the middle of the field. If you look at our success 2 weeks ago, a lot of the big plays came from the middle of the field, because I think that's where the Bears are really susceptible to giving up good plays. On the other side of that, the Bears are going to be relying heavily on their two very good tight ends in this game. So I think the team that wins the middle is going to be a critical battle in this game. The Packers need to make plays in the middle of the field, and the Packers need to cover those tight ends to avoid big plays from the tight ends, because the Bears are really going to lean on those two tight ends in this game, because not only does that help them in the run game, but those two tight ends do give them mismatches against many teams in the NFL. Now, I would argue with Cooper and Quay Walker, we do have linebackers that can cover pretty well as long as the pressure gets to the quarterback. So I think we'll be okay there. Another big factor we got to talk about is the Packers can't let Soldier Field become the 12th man for the Bears. I was in the game last week against the Broncos, and once things switched and the fans were going fanatic in the in the stadium, it was just a massive additional boost for the Broncos. We can't let that happen again this week on the road. I'm hoping there'll be a fair amount of Packers fans that will be there to try to offset this. But the biggest way to get Soldier Field to calm down is consistent, long, sustained running attack, along with drives that result in touchdowns. We want to play with a lead. We want to find a way to take the crowd out of the game as much as possible. Now, I find it interesting that the Bears announced this week that they're actually looking to move the team possibly out of Illinois. And that would be a huge blow for the support for the Bears. I'm really surprised they made this announcement before such a big game, because if the Bears struggle in this game and the Bears fans are starting to say, it's another year where the Packers kick our ass, we're not going to get back into this, then part of the crowd might be thinking about how the fact that the Bears are trying to leave the state, it could make it harder for the team for the fans to support the Bears in this game. Now, I know they're going to be loud, they're going to be crazy at the beginning of this game, so the Packers have to withstand the initial craziness of Soldier Field and focus on sustained drives resulting in touchdowns, because that's the best way to calm that crowd down. So that is going to be one of the keys to the game. So some matchups that we want to talk about. We're going to look at some matchups in detail in a second, but I want to talk about where the matchups really are in this game that we have to watch closely. Okay, so quarterback play. If Jordan Love plays to his maximum level, Jordan Love should be a key to this game, and he should be a big advantage for the Packers to win this game because he is more poised, he's more consistent, he's a bigger playmaker down the field. Jordan Love also has all of his wide receivers available for this game, and Caleb Williams is going to be missing his two best targets. So quarterback play clearly has to go in the Packers' favor if they're going to win this game. Wide receiver tight end matchups, it's really hard to say which team has the advantage there. I would argue the Packers have a good complement of weapons at wide receiver and a few at tight end. And the Bears really have to lean on their tight ends in this game to really try to keep pace with the Packers scoring wise. So I think that's a flip-flop. Pass rush, I'm going to slightly give it to the Packers, and I'll tell you why. Because the Bears are not great at getting to the quarterback unless they blitz. If the Bears blitz too often, Jordan Love is going to make them pay. On the other side, I think the Packers will have enough bodies constantly going in and out of the lineup that they could put pressure on Caleb Williams to make plays. So I think the pass rush advantage slightly goes to the Packers here. The running game, I've got to go with the Bears here. As I said, let's say the Bears get 120 yards, okay, in this game on the ground. That would actually be a good turnout for the Packers. If the Packers get 85 to 100 yards rushing in this game, I will consider that a win because the Packers have much more explosive weapons in the passing game. So we want to see the running game be close to even, but I think the Bears are going to end up having the advantage at running the ball. Coaching, this is going to be a big statement game for all of the coaches that are in this game. Matt LaFleur has got to call one of his best games. Ben Johnson has to find ways to make the most of Micah Parsons not being available for this game. Can Jeff Hafley counter that by finding ways to make the most of the players he does have available for this game? It's going to be a real chess match there. So let's take a look at the matchups for this game. I'm going to go ahead and share those with you guys. Now that we've talked some keys to the game, let's look at the matchup. As of right now, the Chicago Bears are favored by 1.5 points. That is a swing. At one point, it was 2.5 points for the Packers before the Micah Parsons injury. So, a lot of people are putting money on the Bears in this game, and usually it makes sense to go against the money sometimes. And I think definitely Green Bay has an excellent chance of winning this game. So let's take a look at the power rankings. PFF still has Green Bay at number 2. That'll probably come down as Micah Parsons' injury is fully felt by the defense. The Bears are 13th. So looking at power rankings alone, the Packers should handle business on Saturday. Defense, Packers are 13th. Chicago Bears are 10th. Now, when you look at that, you have to keep in mind a lot of that ranking for the Bears comes from causing turnovers. If the Packers can avoid allowing turnovers in this game, the defense will swing heavily into Packers' favor if they take away the one source of great playmaking for the Bears. The Bears are a solid defense, but their takeaway abilities are really what makes them special. So if you take that away and the Packers could control that by not making mistakes, that really takes a lot of the fangs out of the Bears defense. Or I guess you could say claws, right? Because it's the Bears. Looking at offense, Packers are third and the Bears are 10th. A lot of the success for the Bears comes from running the ball. Um, Looking at rushing plays and passing plays, these teams are virtually identical. But look at the important note here, okay? Let's look at EPA per run. The Packers are a negative. Now, it's important to keep in mind that most of the NFL is negative on a run play. The Bears are actually positive by 0.03. But if you look at EPA per pass, the Bears are at 0.03 and the Packers are all the way at 0.21. So if we average those out, right? Okay, so we take the EPA per run, the EPA per play, per pass. The Packers are actually 0.18 for EPA per play, whereas the Bears are 0.03 EPA per play. So big plays in the passing game are really where the Packers have a significant advantage in this game. Let's take a look at the quarterback matchup here. Jordan Love and Caleb Williams. Jordan Love is currently ranked as the second highest quarterback per PFF, and Williams is around 17th. Looking at the passer rating, big time throws, turnover worthy plays, you can see there's a clear advantage for Jordan Love in this matchup. That's why if the defenses neutralize themselves out, if the running game neutralizes themselves out, if it's really an even match, I will take Jordan Love over Caleb Williams every day of the week, and I think that's going to be the key to the game. Let's take a look at the lineups here. Let's start out with Bears on offense. 2 tight end personnel, because especially with their injuries, I think we're going to see the Packers running their base defense much of the game, and we're going to see the Bears running 2 tight end much of the game, because that really is the best situation for both teams. So McKinney is playing solid. Bullard is moving into strong safety. That's what I anticipate. I anticipate on the base defense, you're going to have Bullard at strong safety. You're going to have McKinney at free safety. You're going to have the 2 corners. And you're going to have your 3 linebackers out there. McDuffie and Cooper and Quay Walker have to do a great job not only of holding down those tight ends, but I fully expect Cooper and Walker to be used as designated pass rushers in blitz situations pretty consistently in this game. If you go back to 2024, Edgerrin Cooper was a phenom in these types of games where he could make plays in coverage and also go after the quarterback. Now, they've gotten away from that with Micah Parsons here. So Cooper is one of the solutions for Micah Parsons not being there, is having Cooper rush the quarterback. And he has the speed to chase down Caleb Williams as well. So we're going to watch that very closely. All right. So we've got DJ Moore probably against Carrington Valentine. I would actually give Valentine the edge there. So that is good for us. Then we have Keyshawn Nixon, who has an advantage over Zacharias, their number 3 wide receiver. He's moving into number 2 because they've had injury issues. So if these corners, if Valentine and Nixon can hold up against Moore and Zacharias, that allows the whole box to focus on stopping the run. And I think the Packers have a great opportunity because these corners, I think, can hold long enough to either stop the run or get after the quarterback. And I think that's going to be a really big part of the game, the fact that the Bears don't have their top 2 wide receivers available. Now, they do have Kmet and they do have Loveland, so look for them to try to get quick plays out of the tight end before the pass rush can get to Williams. Williams is rated the 19th rated quarterback. And Swift is the 11th rated running back, but he has a groin injury right now. So even if Swift plays, he might be, if not at 100% for this game. But the Bears do have two great running backs that they could constantly run against the Packers. The Packers have to find ways to force 3rd and 5 or more on a regular basis to try to stop drives. If the Bears are consistently looking at 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1, that is a bad sign for the Packers, because the Packers won't be able to stop those drives from being long drives. Let's look at 3 wide receiver for the Bears and nickel for the Packers. Now we're going to have to make some adjustments here. So this actually favors the Packers a lot more because it takes one of your better targets, the tight end, off the field and replaces him with Duvernay, who is a very inexperienced wide receiver. He's currently 4th on their depth chart, so that's definitely going to be a positive if they take a tight end off and they put on a wide receiver. That's going to be to the Packers' benefit, and that again goes to the fact that we need to get them in 3rd and long situations to try to stop the Bears' drives consistently. Now, this is off a little bit, and I'll tell you why. Because I think you're going to see Bullard play strong safety in the nickel defense, and you're going to have the 3rd cornerback for the Packers come in instead of Bullard in the slot. Nate Hobbs will come in, so this will be Nate Hobbs instead of Bullard. Bullard will be over here in place of Anderson. That is my belief. So the Packers are going to have to find ways to Now, this is going to be 3 wide receivers. So in these scenarios, we're not going to see the Bears do 3 wide receiver in short yardage. So this is going to be 3rd and long, and the Packers have to find ways to get to the quarterback while the corners and the safeties hold up against the passing attack. And I think the Packers are going to have a big advantage here. Okay, so let's take a look at the Bears on defense, base personnel, Packers 2 tight ends. Now, if Zach Tom does not play, this is going to be another offensive lineman. We still don't know who. We'll know closer to the game because we have several offensive linemen that are questionable for this game. So we'll know in our pre-game show tomorrow. We'll have a better feel for if Zach Tom is playing in this or not. So we have Watson and Dobbs. And there's also going to be a mixture of Golden. There's going to be a mixture of other, maybe some Wicks on the outside as well. But either way, in 2 tight end sets, I would argue if you're making smart plays, you can get plays to Watson, you could get plays to Dobbs, you could get plays to Musgrave. The key is just to make smart plays and avoid turnovers. So I think the Packers will be fine in 2 tight end formation. And keep in mind, sometimes they add an extra lineman instead of one of, they would take Musgrave out and leave Fitzpatrick in, and then they would have 6 offensive linemen. We've seen the Packers do that a lot lately. So let's look at 3 wide receivers for the Packers and nickel defense for the Bears. Okay? We've got Dobbs against Wright. We've got Reed against Johnson Gardner. We've got Watson against Johnson. All 3 of those matchups really favor the Packers as long as Jordan Love is being protected. Jaden Reed will make plays. Dobbs will make plays. Watson will make plays. Golden will make plays. Because the Bears, again, if you take away their ability to cause turnovers, are a very average to below average defense, especially when it comes to stopping the run and especially when it comes to stopping big plays down the field where the Packers are excellent. They're the best in the league. So that matchup really favors the Packers finding ways to put up points and win this game. So let's talk about our final predictions for this game. I think this is going to be a very hard-fought game on both offense and defense. But I'm going to give you my prediction right now. I think it's going to be a bit of a shootout in this game. And I expect the Packers to score around 34 points and the Bears to score around 30 points. So let's put it at Packers 34, Bears 31. They win by a field goal and take control of the NFC North for the last time this season. That's my prediction. Join us tomorrow. We'll have an update on actives and inactives, and we'll give you some last-minute thoughts as we look at who's playing and not playing in this game for both teams. As always, go Pack Go. We'll see you tomorrow about an hour and a half before the game for a final update before kickoff. See you then.